This video is everything you need to know about a psychopathic child. Watch it so you do not start seeing normal children as psychopaths. What is psychopathy in children? Imagine a child who never cries, never feels guilt, but knows exactly how to manipulate you. A child who smiles at your face while plotting something far darker behind your back. This isn't just a horror movie trope. Psychopathic children do exist, but the number is less than 1%. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how their minds work and why Samantha's story is so chilling. We will talk about Samantha a minute later, but she wasn't just a troubled kid. She showed signs of something much darker. First, let's learn about the traits that a psychopathic child shows. Because psychopathy isn't just being a bad kid. It's a terrifying mix of traits. Number 1, no empathy. They don't feel your pain. Or, the right way to say, is they can't feel your pain. Imagine there is an accident at the road and you're seeing a person covered in blood, fighting for his last breaths. And you are thinking to yourself, thank God that wasn't me, also feeling sad for him. But the psychopaths can't do that. They will be standing there watching like nothing happened. The reason why, if you ask, their brain scans show their amygdala, the emotion center is underactive. That's why they can't feel emotions like you and me. Number 2, superficial charm, but they can mimic emotions to manipulate. One study found psychopathic kids as young as 5 could fake crying to get what they want, because superficial charm doesn't involve genuine warmth, empathy, or sincerity. It is a tool for influencing others, often to gain advantages or control. Number 3, pathological lying. Not just, I didn't eat the cookie lies. Elaborate, calculated stories to control others. Number 4, lack of fear. Most kids freeze if they see a snake. Psychopathic children, they might pick it up just to scare you. Because again, the amygdala of their brain is not very active. Therefore, they don't feel fear, because fear is also an emotion. But the real question is, can children really be psychopaths? Officially, no child is diagnosed as a psychopath. But psychologists use the term callous, unemotional, CU traits, and it's shockingly close to psychopathy. Because psychopathy is not a condition that suddenly appears in adulthood. It's a developmental disorder that can manifest in early childhood and adolescence. Here's what we know. Callous, unemotional traits are equal to childhood psychopathy, but with a flashing warning sign. An important thing to note here, research suggests 1 in 25 kids show CU traits. Most won't become killers, but they're at high risk for antisocial behavior. Like, if a child is cruel to animals, steals without remorse, or hurts others repeatedly, they may be diagnosed with conduct disorder plus CU traits, the closest thing to child psychopathy. And the Nationwide Children's also suggests that children with conduct disorder have a difficult time following rules and behaving in a socially acceptable way. Their behavior can be hostile and sometimes physically violent, but there is also nature versus nurture. Twin studies prove genetics play a huge role, but abuse can make it worse. Some kids are born broken, others are made that way. But why this matters? Why should you care? Because these kids aren't just future criminals. They're in classrooms, playgrounds, and sometimes your own home. And the scariest part? They don't always look like monsters. They look like Samantha. The adoption story of Samantha started with love. It ended with her mother whispering, "I think my daughter wants to kill us all." An important note here before any further. Most psychopathic traits don't lead to violence. Many individuals with psychopathic traits may never engage in violent acts at all, but in extreme and rare cases like Samantha's, the results are horrifying. At age 6, Samantha began drawing pictures of murder weapons, a knife, a bow and arrow, chemicals for poisoning, a plastic bag for suffocating. She pretended to kill her stuffed animals. "You were practicing on your stuffed animals?" Barbara Haggerty, the psychologist, asked her. She nods. "How did you feel when you were doing that to your stuffed animals?" "Happy." "Why did it make you feel happy?" "Because I thought that someday I was going to end up doing it on somebody." "Did you ever try?" Silence, then she said, "I choked my little brother." Samantha's parents, Jen and Danny, adopted Samantha when she was 2. They already had 3 biological children, but they felt called to add Samantha to their family. From the start, Samantha seemed a willful child in tyrannical need of attention. But what toddler isn't? Her biological mother had been forced to give her up because she'd lost her job and home and couldn't provide for her 4 children. But the shocking part is, there was no evidence of abuse. According to documentation from the state of Texas, Samantha met all her cognitive, emotional, and physical milestones. She had no learning disabilities, no emotional scars, no signs of ADHD or autism. Then what was that? Even at a very young age, Samantha had a mean streak. When she was about 20 months old, living with foster parents in Texas, she clashed with a boy in daycare. The caretaker soothed them both. Problem solved. Later that day, Samantha, who was already potty trained, walked over to where the boy was playing, pulled down her pants, and peed on him. She knew exactly what she was doing, Jen says. There was an ability to wait until an opportune moment to exact her revenge on someone. When Samantha got a little older, she would pinch, trip, or push her siblings and smile if they cried. She would break into her sister's piggy bank and rip up all the bills. Once, when Samantha was 5, Jen scolded her for being mean to one of her siblings. Samantha walked upstairs to her parents' bathroom and washed her mother's contact lenses down the drain. Her behavior wasn't impulsive, Jen says. It was very thoughtful and premeditated. But one bitter December day in 2011, Jen was driving the children along a winding road near their home. Samantha had just turned 6. Suddenly, Jen heard screaming from the back seat, and when she looked in the mirror, she saw Samantha with her hands around the throat of her 2-year-old sister, who was trapped in her car seat. Jen separated them, and once they were home, she pulled Samantha aside. "What were you doing?" Jen asked. "I was trying to choke her," Samantha said. "You realize that would have killed her? She would not have been able to breathe. She would have died." "I know." "What about the rest of us?" "I want to kill all of you." Samantha later showed Jen her sketches, and Jen watched in horror as her daughter demonstrated how to strangle or suffocate her stuffed animals. "I was so terrified," Jen says. "I felt like I had lost control." 4 months later, Samantha tried to strangle her baby brother, who was just 2 months old. Jen and Danny had to admit that nothing seemed to make a difference. Not affection, not discipline, not therapy. "I was reading and reading and reading, trying to figure out what diagnosis made sense," Jen tells. "What fits with the behaviors I'm seeing?" Eventually, she found one condition that did seem to fit, but it was a diagnosis that all the mental health professionals had dismissed because it's considered both rare and untreatable. But before I tell you the early signs to watch out for, I want to ask you a question. At what point would you give up on your child? When they hurt animals, siblings, or would you keep trying, like Samantha's parents did? Early red flags with documented cases of psychopathic children. Psychopathic traits don't emerge overnight. They reveal themselves in chilling ways, often before age 10. Let's examine real cases that shocked researchers and families, early childhood behavior, and the unmistakable warning signs. These children aren't just difficult. Their behavior defies normal development, and science proves it. Number 1, lack of guilt. Mary Bell in the 1960s from the UK. At age 10, Bell strangled 2 toddlers, ages 3 and 4. When the cops arrested her, she laughed during police interrogations and drew pictures of her crimes. Psychiatrists noted she showed zero remorse, even pretending to cry in court when it suited her. An important research insight here: brain scans of children with CU traits show reduced amygdala activity when shown images of crying faces. Proving their lack of emotional response isn't just defiance, it's biological for them. Number 2, cruelty to animals. Susan, the case study by Dr. Robert Hare. At age 6, Susan was caught flushing a kitten down the toilet. When confronted, she denied it angrily, not out of shame, but frustration at being caught. The data. A 2020 study found that 50% of children who torture animals meet criteria for CU traits later, and many escalate to violence against humans. Number 4, pathological lying. Beth Thomas, child of rage, adopted after severe abuse, Beth manipulated therapists by claiming she wanted to change while secretly plotting to harm her family. Then later, She admitted lying was fun. Science. Kids with CU traits outperform peers in lying tasks. Their pupils don't dilate, a tell for stress in normal liars, proving their deception is calculated. Now they also use manipulation for their unfair advantage, the chameleon effect. These children wear masks. They're experts at mimicking emotions, which they don't feel. Number 1. Public versus private persona. Eric formed Mendota Juvenile Treatment Center. By 13, Eric had committed arson and assault. Yet the staff described him as charming and polite, until he manipulated peers into fights for his amusement. Study. CU kids score higher on social intelligence tests than non-CU kids. They use empathy as a tool, not as a feeling. Number 2. Gaslighting authority figures. Case from Pittsburgh. Youth study. One 9-year-old framed his brother for stealing by planting evidence. Teachers believed him until CCTV proved otherwise. His response, "I wanted to see what would happen." Disturbing incidents when play turns sinister. Their play is also not innocent like most kids. For these children, it's a rehearsal. Number 1. Violent fantasies. Ted Bundy, childhood. Bundy's aunt recalled him placing knives around her bed as she slept. Later, he dug pits to trap neighbors, a behavior linked to proactive aggression in psychopathy research. Research. Kids who draw graphic violence like suffocation, stabbing at age 6 to 8 are 5 times more likely to exhibit antisocial behavior as teens. Number 2. Premeditated harm. Case from University of New Mexico. A 7-year-old strangled a classmate during nap time, later telling doctors, "I wanted to see if she'd turn blue." fMRI scans showed his amygdala didn't activate when shown fear. Early signs are observable. CU traits can appear as early as 2 to 4 years old, like no eye contact when others cry. But not all become violent. Only approximately 30% of CU kids develop adult psychopathy. Environment matters. Some thrive in structured settings. And also, treatment exists. Programs like Mendota Juvenile Treatment Center cut recidivism by 34% using reward-based therapy. Now, I have a question for you to answer right now. Should we separate these kids as soon as we see the warning signs for treatment, or they can be healed by good parenting and love?